Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a review of the Wingsung 3013. Now this pen is an interesting one. Now to start with, what I'm going to say is that this pen comes in around $10. Okay, that's $10 Australian including postage. Now why is that an interesting thing from a Chinese fountain pen? Well, the fact that this pen is a vacuum filling fountain pen. Now we can see straight from the outset that this pen has a lot in common with TWSBI, and I will show that in more detail in just a minute. But what I thought I would do is I would go through a couple of the features of this pen, do a writing sample, show a couple of comparisons, and then do a writing, then talk about some pros and cons. So, as you can see, the pen has a plain sort of chrome metal clip and cap, with a cap band there which says, has Chinese characters which I believe are for like Wingsung, and on the back 3013. It unscrews the cap, and there is a little O-ring there which sort of supports the capping mechanism. It makes it a nice sort of seal down when you clamp it down. It's got a good sort of decent length section. The threads aren't sharp, and there is a bit of a step down there, but you know, it's actually quite comfortable still to hold because that section is quite long. Tiny little flare there, and it leads to a number 5 nib, which I believe is compatible with a number of pilot nibs, such as the nibs on the Metropolitan and the Plumix and the Pluminix and all those sorts of things. So if you wanted to, you could swap it out. It's got a clear plastic feed, and it, you know, but I've got this with the medium nib, which I'm quite happy with. So I said this is TWSBI inspired. It's vac filler like the VAC 700, and that's the pen it's sort of inspired by. And like right down to, as you'll see when you see the comparison, the little facets on the cap there. I should say pen sort of tapers down to the mechanism there to unscrew the plunger. And it's a sort of nice sort of sturdy, it's got a good sort of sturdy feel. The plastic doesn't feel the strongest, but it's got a good sturdy robust feel to it. But yes, it is inspired by TWSBI, and there are certain characteristics that tie the two pens together. That will be more visible when I show you the clear plastic version, but I wanted to show this purple version, because one I've got inked with the medium nib, and it is, that comes in a couple of, I think there's 4 or 5 different plastic finishes, plus a range of, I think there are 3 available nibs that I've been able to see, or at least 3 that have been mentioned as extra fine, and a sort of a medium. In the hand, this pen is really comfortable. As I said, that section is a good length, it's a good width, and it's a nice sort of length pen. It's not big, but it's not small. The pen does not post. You can get the cap on there, but it doesn't actually stay. It's pretty much just going to fall off. But the balance in the hand, unposted, is actually quite good. There's a little bit of weight in the back of the pen because of the mechanism there, but it does sit nicely sort of in the webbing of the hand, so it's not going to get sort of too heavy in any direction. I'll say from the outset, the flow and the writing experience of this pen, the wetness is really nice, and because it's got such a great ink capacity, being, you know, a vac filler, you can, you know, write for days with this pen, and why wouldn't you want to when it writes like this one does? So let's look at it now, just quickly, just for the sake of the exercise, just so we get sort of a good sort of comparison. Here it is next to a Lamy Safari. So you see, not a small pen, not a big pen, fairly sort of standard at that, around that 140mm mark. And just do the measurements while we're here. So 141 when it's capped, 133 when it is uncapped. It doesn't stay on there, but when the pen is posted, it's about 168. The diameter of the section is about 10mm in the middle there. The weight of the pen is 33 grams, so not a light pen, which is nice. It's nice to have a sort of a slightly more robust pen. 22 of that is in the body, and 11 of that is in the cap, but as it doesn't post, you can't make it back heavy with the weight of that cap on there. Now, I'm going to pull across here my the clear version of this pen. As I said, they come in under $10 Australian, so I got 2, one with a fine nib and one with the sort of the more medium nib, and actually the fine nib there has a nice sort of Wingsung design on it. Same plastic feed, and same vac filler. So I can show you the mechanism here. So you unscrew the back of the pen, pull the plunger back, and as you push that, put that into the ink, and then as you push this plunger down, it gets to a point just here, where you hear that little pop, and the pressure built up behind the plunger is released and ink is drawn up into the pen. Really great filling system. Not always the easiest to clean, but nice, and certainly allows you a lot of ink. Okay, so here is the clear version. Here is the VAC 700. Now, you can see the VAC 700 is a bigger pen, but there are a lot of similarities between the two. So the cap band, sort of the general shape of the clip there, the silver on the top, and also the shape of the section, but I'm going to get into the section in just in a minute. Now, this pen the Wingsung has these facets. They're not coming up very easily on the camera there, but facets on the cap, as does the TWSBI here. And then the barrel is smooth tapered to a metal ring, and then this sort of octagonal or something piston knob. So there are a lot of similarities between the pen. It is slightly smaller, but there are two things that I want to say about the Wingsung that actually, for me, make it a slightly more interesting pen than the TWSBI. Now, neither of them post, so that's an issue. But what makes the Wingsung really, in my opinion, nice is the section, firstly. And, well, both things are actually right here visible in this frame. So the step down on the TWSBI is really noticeable. That step down off the barrel of the pen onto the threads and then into the section, you really do feel that. And it's quite a narrow section. Now, the section is a little bit wider here on the Wingsung, but it's also ever so slightly longer. But the step down off the threads and the body is much less apparent, and that makes it a much more comfortable writing experience. The size of the Wingsung, the length of the pen, and the width in the hand is a little bigger, and with that number 6 nib, you get a nice sort of position on the page. As if you've seen one before, I've swapped it out for a Bock titanium nib, but that's beside the point. So lots of similarities between the TWSBI VAC 700 and the Wingsung 3013, but different enough that the Wingsung is actually a good pen in its own right. Yes, inspired by, but enough little differences just to make it unique, and actually, as I said, a very fine pen in its own right. So let's do a writing sample, and then we'll cover some pros and cons. So here is some Clairefontaine paper, which I have, and here is the Wingsung 3013. The ink here, this is the medium. The ink here is Atramentis. This is Alexander Hamilton. Okay. A little writing. So, smooth pen, reliable, consistent, wet, beautiful writer, really just a gorgeous pen to write with. Nice in the hand, like no issues keeping up. Just super well tuned, nice writing pen, and smooth. Reverse writing, very fine, a little bit drier, but doable. Certainly, if you needed to put a couple of words on a receipt or some cheap paper, absolutely fine. Flex, I'm not going to push it, but you can put a little bit more ink down on the page. Now, you're not necessarily, I don't know how visible this will be, but you're not really opening up the tines, but you are putting down a little bit more ink. So that's nice. It's not I wouldn't push these nibs too far. They do spring quite quickly, and once they've sprung, well, there's no going back from that really, is there? So really nice pen to write with. Puts down a lovely, thick, generous line of ink, and very smooth. Like that is one of the smoothest Wingsung nibs I've ever used. So very, very interesting. Now, pros and cons. Let's start with the cons. Firstly, it's not necessarily a con, but some people are going to be really upset with how inspired this pen is by TWSBI. Now, that is going to be a pro for some, a con for some, and some people just won't care. I don't necessarily care. As I said, there are enough differences in this pen to say, yes, it is inspired by, but it is not a copy. The other issue that could occur, and it's an easy one to fix, is here. Now, there's no cap liner, so that O-ring is going to help seal this cap, but you can't really pick it up here, but there's a little screw there in the end of the cap. These Wingsung pens are notorious for corrosion. So, like, it is absolutely something to be aware of, that if that gets wet, if that, rusts, that will corrode. Now, it's not necessarily going to do anything, but it is just something to be aware of. The pros of this pen far outweigh the cons. Okay, pros. Filling system. It's a vacuum filling pen. Chinese pens like the Pen BBS pens have started to use this mechanism, but things like the Pilot 823, some of the Visconti pens that use what they call the power filler, there's a bunch of pens that are vacuum filling pens. This is probably one of the most affordable, and it is certainly one of the best. That nib is beautiful. As you can see from the writing here on the page, it does a lovely job. It's not got flair, it's not a stub or a flex nib or anything like that, but as an everyday writing pen, the nib is perfect. The size in the hand is a real pro. It's a nice pen to write with. It feels comfortable. I've written with it for long sessions. I never get tired, never feel like I'm pinching the grip. It stays nicely in the hand. It's got good weight and good size. So I really can't complain at all about how this pen feels and how this pen writes. And the thing that you cannot complain about is the price. Under $10 Australian, including postage, for a pen that writes like this, that has this filling system, has a couple of different material, like color material available, you really can't complain. So for me, this is a really good pen. It's a very good pen at its price point, and a pen that I'm happy to have in my collection and will continue to use. And what better recommendation can there be than someone actually wanting to use a pen? So if you're interested, check this one out. They're available on eBay and places like that. So jump online and see what you can find. That was the Wingsung 3013. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can drop me an email, which is listed down below, or comment on any of my videos here. If there are products you think I should be looking at, get in touch and let me know. Or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel, drop me an email and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.